This is the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman football podcast. Joining myself and Kev on the show tonight is former Liverpool and Stuttgart striker Sean Dundee. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks, great to be here.
As always, we go right back to the start. You were born and grew up in Durban in South Africa. How did you end up playing football in Germany?
Lucky as well, but put it this way, I was always playing football. My dad used to play football, but he was never a professional, and I was always had a ball in my feet, and my friend said, why don't you join a club? And that's when it all started. And then about when I was 10, 11, my dad's best friend, I can't remember his name now, but he had something to do with Everton, and he said, when your son's old enough, you'll get me a trial there. And that was just like the switch in my head that said, you know what, I want to play in Europe one day, and I wanted to play for Everton back then, and that was what motivated me to work harder than everybody else. I wasn't always the best in the team, but I just had that goal to become a professional, and that's what took me all the way then.
And then obviously the German team came in for you.
Yeah. I I had an agent. He played in Austria. Matter of fact, at Admira Wacker, I think it was Admira Wacker. It was Admira Wacker before they used to Admira Wacker, and he played there for 5 years, and he had a lot of contacts in Germany. And we got together when I was 16. He used to train me, coach me now and again. Gordon Igerson, he was their national team coach for South Africa a little bit later on in his career, and somehow he's got his connections working for me, and then I ended up at Stuttgart Kickers. First it was a 1-week trial, and then they extended it another 2 weeks. And after I think 4 or 5 days of the second part of the trial, they said, you know what, we're going to keep you till the end of the season. And that's where it really kicked off. I was really lucky. Came into a team where there was a lot of good guys. They helped me. A lot of guys that spoke English. Thomas Tuchel was there. He was my partner in crime back then, and guys like that got me through the homesickness, and where I thought a few times about giving up, but I knew if I'd given up, I would have regretted it my whole life.
What was Thomas Tuchel like back then?
He's my age, so he used to take me around. He knew Stuttgart a lot better, so how can I explain? We were both young. We both, like we'd say, naughty, and like I said, the times when I was feeling down and homesick and thought about it, I was just glad that I had guys like him around me at the time to stick it through. But huge achievement what he's achieved, over the last years, and we're in contact again, and just fantastic. I'm just so happy for him.
Yeah, amazing achievement what he did in a few months, to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, I know you played for a number of clubs then, but Karlsruhe, I guess, was the one where you really kind of shot to prominence. So can you just remind us a little bit about your time there as well?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing first I was at Stuttgart Kickers, and I decided to, back then, my agent wanted me to go to a first division team, but I wasn't playing, so on my own will, I said, you know what, I'm going to drop it down a league. And I was lucky that year I was second highest goal scorer. I was scoring goals, and then Bayern Munich came along and they wanted me to sign. I've spoken to Giovanni Trapattoni back then, Uli Hoeneß, who had really practically agreed. And then my best friend that was also at Stuttgart Kickers, and when I was there, he was goalkeeper at Karlsruhe, and he said, you're not going there, come to us. And then Vinny Schaefer invited me to train with the team for a week. We played a friendly during the week against AS Rome, because it was one of the deals that Thomas Hessler signed, that we play a friendly 3 times. I think it was two friendlies in 2 years or something like that. And in that game I scored, and then they said, you're not going anywhere, you're staying with us. And I was, it was unbelievable for me sitting next to him in the change room. I used to have posters of Thomas Hessler on my wall when I was growing up. And what helped me there was just the atmosphere in the team. At first, they gave me an amateur contract, because back then we were only allowed to have 3 foreign players. And because I started doing well, they had to offer me a professional contract. And then they sold Slaven Bilic back then. Slaven also was a roommate of mine, but they got rid of him to give me a professional contract. And things just went from good to better for a while.
So just to give us an idea, because none of us have any idea. So when you talk about an amateur contract, I guess you weren't on millionaires' wages then in those days.
No.
What sort of money were you earning?
Yeah, we don't talk about money, but I had an amateur. That means I could have played for the second team in the lower league. And when I did start scoring goals, they offered me a new contract. And then a few months later, because things were really getting good, they offered me then another contract. But I actually signed an 8-year contract with them. So they offered me, but I didn't have an agent back then. I didn't have anybody to help me through that all at that stage. And I'm not going to say the club took advantage of the situation, but they made it really difficult for me because I wasn't a person that was going to say, you know what, I'm not signing that now, I'm going to wait. They had the press and everything ready, and they put the paper in front of me and they said, okay, there's your contract. Yeah, so, but, it was I love the club. I had a great time there, and unfortunately, we did go down, but that opened the door for me to move to England for one season, unfortunately. That it was only one season. I would have loved to have played longer there, but that's just the way some things go.
So take us back to that then. So, as JP mentioned there, I'm a Liverpool fan, always was a Liverpool fan. So, we didn't know too much about you, when we heard about the move. How did it come about?
You know what? It actually it happened pretty quickly because I knew that, the club got relegated. I had already been in talks with a few other clubs, and one in Germany, Gladbach, and I had Auxerre from France and Glasgow Rangers that were ready to sign me, so I was, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And then I got a call from my agent, because back then I had an agent, and he said, Liverpool. And I said, okay, that's it, I'm going. There was no doubt in my mind. Even though I was an Evertonian growing up, I just, I knew this was a huge chance for me, a dream to play in England. And within a few days, it all happened, so it was great back then. I'd love to go back and just go through the time again, just to do a few things differently. It
was quite a team that you went into, wasn't it? I think it was a couple of years after the sometimes referred to as the Spice Boys FA Cup final, yeah. but a lot of those players were still there. Who do you particularly remember as looking up to or enjoying playing with?
Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman, I got on great with. Just loved the way he was, his attitude, just a normal guy and straight down. The whole team really, just, I had with Steve, I sat not too far away from him. I think he was next to me, or Leon Hodgson was next to me. There was a lot of good guys in the team, but we didn't have a good season that year either. So for me, David James, I used to see on TV a lot. Paul Ince was not going to say a hero, but he was somebody that I thought, wow, he's been through a lot, been to a lot of places. And obviously, being a German, Karl-Heinz Riedler I used to play against him when he was at Dortmund, and that's why just a lot of good guys in the team. And but like I say, I got on really well with McManaman, Karl-Heinz, but yeah, Steve Harkness was mostly my roommate back then.
There was a young 18-year-old in the squad as well then, called Steven Gerrard. Did you see then, that he could become what he became?
You could see, their first impression is a lasting one. But already when he came up, he was focused. You could just see that he was. I would never have said, that guy's going to make it all the way. But you could see he was a little bit more quiet back then. But he was focused on whatever he did was like 100%. And I mean, you still see it now. I don't think he's ever given less than 100% in whatever he's done.
Just going back to what you said there about yourself and Thomas Tuchel when you were young lads, being naughty, was the so-called Spice Boys, like Kevin said, the likes of McManaman, Owen, Fowler, I think McAteer might have been there, I'm not sure. Were those boys, did you get up to any naughty things with those lads?
No, less. I was, when the season started, that's the one big mistake I've already spoken to, and about the issue that I had, why I didn't make an impact like I did. We had a longer break. German league was over earlier, and in the break I didn't do much, so when the training did start, I think that was one of the hardest pre-seasons I'd had in my life, when I was there. And first of all, I took a dip in the trainings. I really struggled to get on, and I had to do extra sessions. And then we played against Valencia. I came on, we went through to the next round, and Roy Evans came to me and said, you know what, when if we'll see on the weekend. So he was thinking about letting me play. And then I got injured one day later, and that was it really for me at Liverpool. It was pretty early in the season as well. I had to get my knee operated, and Roy Evans left, and Gerard Houllier came, and for me that was my time already really over there. He got rid of McAteer. He tried to get rid of me during the season, but I was still injured, and I said no, I'm going to stay till the end of the year. And yeah, I didn't really do that much with the guys except when we were on pre-season in Ireland, but I saw the boys every day when I had treatment or when I did get back from my injury, but it wasn't the kind of times like I've had at Karlsruhe with the players or at Stuttgart or wherever I've been.
Just coming from obviously South Africa to Germany, I mean, you obviously weren't a German speaker. I know Afrikaans has a lot of words that are similar to the German language, and I'm sure you acclimatized. But how did you find and how did you understand Scouse? You know, did you struggle with the accent in Liverpool?
No, there were some things that when I was in Scotland, I found it even worse. So I didn't find being at Liverpool that bad. I actually understand and understood quite a bit, and yeah, that was not a problem.
Did you, obviously it must have been frustrating, so seriously, how do you actually cope with that, when you arrive and you haven't been able to show what you can do because of injuries, and it was a long time that you weren't available. So how did you cope? Did you have family with you, or did you have, what were your mechanisms?
I was then married and my daughter were there. So back then I was a bit younger. I was, it did upset me. I was down. I even went to Gerard Houllier to him in the change room, and I said to his office, and I said, "Tell me what I got to do to change your mind around. Tell me what I got to do." I was training pretty hard also when I was injured, so I was doing a lot of work, and he had already made up his mind, so there was no way. He called me when I was getting treatment. I can't remember where I was, and they called, and the guy that was treating me said, "Oh, you have to shoot off to Anfield. They want to speak to you." So I went there, and they said, "There's a plane from Strasbourg waiting for you. You're gonna sign in Strasbourg." And I was not signing anywhere now. I'm still injured, It was like a month after my injury, and I think I was out for nearly 3. And I said, "I'm not even fit, and you're gonna send me off." So I said, "No, I'm not going anywhere now. I'm gonna stay till the end of the season, get fit, and see what happens from then."
So despite those frustrations and not being able to quite make the impact, how about the city itself? Do you you said I got from your tone that you still quite enjoyed your time there. Do you still have fond memories of it?
I love being there. I mean, it's Liverpool. That's every kid knows Liverpool. Even now, when I do coaching or something, and people say, "He was in Liverpool as well," they're all like, "Wow, it's a huge club. It's a huge name." I just wish that things had been different when I was there, and I really waited till the last minute. I wanted to sit out. I didn't want to just sit out my contract. I wanted to really try for the second, in the second season, new season. But me, Paul Ince, we were training alone, and I didn't even know the boys had started training again. They had already gone into preseason, and I said to Paul, "When did the team start?" He said, "No, they already traveled to, I don't know where they were. I think it was Switzerland or something. They've already gone to Switzerland." I said, "What? They've already gone?" And then I called. I had a new agent. I said, "You know what? I got to leave now. I knew, okay, there's no more chance here. I got to find something else."
We'll speak in a minute about another coach, but what are your feelings about Gerard Houllier? Didn't obviously you say made up your mind, but he was quite a character, I suppose.
Yeah, you know what? He had his players. He had his the guys that he wanted. You have to respect that. There's a lot of it happens. It didn't happen to me. It happened to a few players in the team. Jason McAteer was at training, and the coach said we were going to go from Melwood. We were going to train at Anfield in the stadium, and he said to Jason, "You come with me." And when we got there, he said, "How are they selling me?" So everybody was surprised. I know he did things in a strange way, but you know what? He won trophies. You have to respect that as well. I always say, like I said earlier on, the first impression is the lasting one. I didn't have a good start at Liverpool, and maybe he saw that. He had a bad impression, and he had really made up his mind who he wanted, what his team should be like, who he wanted to get. Something you have to respect as a player. And I didn't cause any trouble. I had to, when I knew that they had gone, I knew, okay, I got to go, I have no regret, so hard feelings about what he did. I understand it, yeah, it's the way football is run.
Was it Houlier's decision to try and sell you to Strasbourg, and why Strasbourg?
I don't know. They called me and said, there's a plane waiting to take you to Strasbourg, that you sign a contract. And I said, I'm not going anywhere till I'm fit. That was it. They called me. They said, come to the office. I went to the office. They said, there's a plane waiting. And I said, I'm not going anywhere.
Just going back to what Kev brought up some of those names, and you said there was Paul Ince, there was Steve McManaman, there was Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, David James. That was a really good squad. Do you think that they underachieved?
Probably a little bit. But there were some good teams back there as well that were doing well. I don't know. Did we underachieve? Maybe. I mean, what did we finish? 7th? I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have finished higher, but I don't think we were the quality of others there that could have challenged. We had a lot of injuries that season. I can remember there was a time where Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler were injured. Karl-Heinz got injured. I was on the bench. I thought, okay, I'm going to get a game today, and Karl-Heinz got injured against Blackburn after 10, 15 minutes, and I was waiting to go on, and he brought me on 10 minutes before the end. Karl-Heinz had to struggle through the game, but yeah, I think that Gerrard knew as well that the team wasn't at that standard that he thought could win the league, and that's why he brought in new players, made some changes, and then that one season where he did win so many trophies. But I still think that we weren't good enough to win the league back then.
Must have been pretty cool seeing Michael Owen, right? Because he was very special in those days, wasn't he? With that when he had that pace.
Yeah, he was. But I used to watch a lot of English football, so players like Steve McManaman or Robbie Fowler or Paul Ince, David James, those players, the elder, they weren't much older than me or anything, but they were the older ones in the team, and I actually enjoyed seeing them and watching them.
McManaman used to be nicknamed the postman because of his delivery. I imagine, as a striker, as a forward, it must have been a dream, even in training, to play on the same team as him.
I've played with a lot of good midfielders. He's obviously one of those as well, and I always had a good understanding with whichever midfield player. I played with Thomas Hessler, as you know, and that's where I scored most of my goals. When I went to Stuttgart, it was with Alexander Klepp, that went later to Arsenal. With Steve, I didn't get to train. Well, did train with him for a while, but I didn't get to play with him that often. So it's one thing maybe, like I said, if I had done better in the beginning and had a chance to play more often, we would have had a great understanding with each other. But he had a great one with Robbie Fowler, and Robbie showed what a great striker he was for Liverpool.
You so when it came to an end at Liverpool, actually, as it turns out, you went on to a pretty club, pretty good club that was going places, right? In Stuttgart, right? So back to the city of Stuttgart for you, which must have been cool, and to a pretty cool club.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I knew they had gone, I had an agent still, and he said I should stay, and I had spoken to another agent maybe half a year before that, and he said, "Let me help you. I'll get you somewhere else to go." But I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay here at Liverpool, stick it out, and make it. And then after I knew the team had gone, then I said, you know what, I called him and I said, okay, can you help me? And he had 2 teams for me. It was back then Unterhaching and Stuttgart, and I desperately wanted to go to Stuttgart. And I waited 2 weeks maybe before the decision really got made. They had already done preseason. The season was about to start. I was really unfit because I had hardly trained. And that went through. I was delighted, and I had a great time there. I enjoyed playing there the 4 years that I did.
So you were there. You coincided with Ralf Rangnick, right? While he was coach there for a while.
Yeah, he brought me in, and then later on I had Felix Magath, 2 completely different coaches, but they both got me back on my feet, and like I said, I had a great time there. We finished second in the league my last season, and it was something special being there as well. Ralf,
went on to be extremely influential, I would say, right? I don't know if you'd agree, in German football. Even at that time, was he working on some of those fast transitions and some of those ways of playing that would become sort of trademark and so influential?
Yeah, he did. I mean, he worked really. Thomas Tuchel and him were really good friends as well. They got Thomas Tuchel went to his team, and when I dropped it down one league, and we played against each other. But you could see already that back then his team were winning quite a lot of amateur tournaments and beating us a few times. And when he was at Stuttgart, he was trying that, but he was a guy, he worked really more with the mental side of the game. He got me out my whole sort of thing. I hadn't scored for a while, and I had come in a few times, and he said, come, I want to show you something, and pulled me into his office, and he went and showed me a whole lot of goals that I had scored with Karlsruhe, and he said, I want you to start doing that with us now, and in that game I scored my first goal for Stuttgart, and that year I was the highest goal scorer for Stuttgart in that season. But he was a guy you could always talk to and tell him, hey, if feeling a bit tired, he'd say, what, take a rest. The tactical side of the game, it's difficult I can't really remember that much on it, but I know that the kind of coach he was, he tried to make the players feel welcome and try to get a good team spirit in the team, that we played well together. Felix Magath was completely different, but anyway, it's another story.
Just explain that. In what way was he different? He was a bit of a tougher taskmaster, or
he had a young team. I was one of all the older players. I was like the middle. He had the young players, then he had the old players, and then he had me and a few others, and he was on me all the time. But I took it as I wasn't upset about it. I knew he was trying to get the best out of me. He did help me a lot. I mean, I was injured quite a bit at Stuttgart when he was there. That didn't help much. But whenever I did play, I was scoring, and he was really difficult. Sometimes I didn't understand. I would play a game, score 2 goals, the next game I'm on the bench, and I was, wow. That's the way it is, So I went to him a few times in his office. I said, don't you like me? He said, no, it's not that. He said to me, if I didn't like you, then I wouldn't even talk to you. But he was always pushing me and pushing me and pushing me, so he knew what he had to do with me to get me to work properly. You
had a pretty decent record at Stuttgart, goal scoring record, 25 league goals in 77 games. Yeah, well, it's not too bad. It's not too shabby. Did the word ever come, or did the South Africa national team ever approach you? Because you have a cap for Germany B. Was there ever an option to play international football with South Africa?
I was in 96, 97 season. I was with the South African national team. And, South African football is in a better place than it was back then. But I came as an outsider into a team. Nobody knew me from really, because German football didn't get that shown that often in South Africa. They had their team, the South Africans. They were doing well internationally, I thought, for in Africa especially. And then I came, and I wouldn't say I wasn't welcome, but I came as an outsider, and they didn't want any big changes in that team. I noticed it in training. I wasn't the only one. Players used to come to me and say, don't worry, if they don't pass you in training. It's just one of those things. And then Vinny Schaefer came down, because they were playing a friendly against Germany on the weekend that when I had arrived. So it was a week I trained with them. And on the weekend, we were going to play against Germany. And then Vinny Schaefer came from Karlsruhe to South Africa, and he said, don't play. And I said, why? Maybe there's a chance you can play for Germany. And I was, okay. If I had been taken differently in that week where I trained with them, I think I would have played for South Africa. But the way things went, I didn't feel like leaving Germany once a month to come play friendly or come play tournaments with them and get treated the way I did.
Sean, who is the best player you've played with and the best you've played against?
I will always say Thomas Hessler. We understood each other blindly. I would just run the balls with that. He was one of the reasons why I did so well in my first years in Karlsruhe. I still have contact with him, an incredible guy, a hero for me when I was a kid, and then to sit practically next to him in the change room. The way he is, the kind of guy he is, just incredible, and the best I've played against. I mean, as a forward, you're always going to come up against defenders, and I used to love playing against Dortmund. Back then it was Jürgen Kohler, also world champion. Hard as nails, but fair, and we used to have a lot of battles against each other. I used to love playing against them.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of those players, or you mentioned one player who you played with at Stuttgart as well, in Kleb. But there were others as well, right? That was the beginnings of a very good side again, wasn't there, with Kevin Kurani and people?
Yeah, the Junge Wilden, they were called a little bit later. Alex came as a thin little guy. I mean, you've probably seen him as well, and we thought, where did they find him? But he was incredible on the ball. Also in training, you could just see the magic that he had, and that he was going to be a good player. And I used to help him a lot. Actually, I was always not always with him, but whenever there was something, I was always helping him with where he had to go or things like that. We got on really well. He was also upset that I did leave when I did. But like I said, later on at Arsenal, I thought he was incredible. I thought he did the worst thing he did was leave Arsenal. He should have stayed there.
You mentioned that the young and the wild. Why were they called that? That generation of players?
There were a lot of young players, like you said, Kevin Kurani, Masmanidis. There was then they had the back line. When I had left, then Philip Lahm came as well. He played there one season. Andreas Hinkel, he was at Celtic then later. There was just a whole lot of young players, and Felix Magath had a young team, and they did what he did. They with Felix, you knew that you had to, when you won on the weekend, you knew you had a great week. You knew the week was going to run smoothly. You lose a game, then things are different. So they did really well, and I think after Felix Magath left a few years later, they won the league, and hey, that was something incredible actually when you think about it. That Bayern's dominance, Dortmund's dominance over so long, that a team like Stuttgart won the league, it was incredible.
It does. It almost seems impossible to believe now, doesn't it, that they managed to do that out of almost.
Hard to believe that somebody, but it was hard to believe that Leicester would win the league, and they did. But that's something, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sean Dundee's World Club Football 1997 was a Windows video game. What do you know about that?
Yeah, actually, somebody gave me a copy not so long ago. It was, I think, last year. He bought it on the internet and gave it to me. I can remember back then, but I don't think it was anything big. From Ubisport it was from as well, So they make a lot of big video games, but I think that was one of the worst ones they ever made, wasn't it?
Sean, what are you up to these days?
I do a lot of, actually I have my football school here, but obviously through the Corona period and the lockdowns and everything, that's on hold. But I do a lot of private training individually as well. But what I love doing, and the last 3-4 years now, I'm an expert commentator for the Bundesliga, because there's a lot of countries in the world that show the Bundesliga in English. I sit once or twice a month and am co-commentator for certain games.
Do you know? I used to work with a guy called Mark Gleeson in South Africa for many years. Did you ever come across him?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a long time. I haven't been to South Africa for like 5 years now, so it's time to shoot back. But when things are a little bit better.
I just wanted to go back to one thing before our call comes to an end, but it blew me away that your relationship with Thomas Tuchel back in the day. I just wonder, did you see anything in him then that you thought that he could make a great coach?
You know what, you could see as well that he thought a lot about, because he was, I can remember him playing defensive midfield, but he was a player that tactically wanted to always do things right. And the funny thing is that we were together a lot. Then I went away. I wasn't far away. We still saw each other. And then he went a little bit further away. I used to go to him, and when I was at Culture, I used to travel to him when the season was over. We used to spend a few days together, and then we lost each other completely for a while. I didn't see him anymore. There was no WhatsApp back then. There was nothing like, I didn't know where he was. I was busy playing, and then I didn't see him for a really long time till I went back to Stuttgart. But I didn't know that. I opened Wikipedia one day and I was looking through where he had been and stuff, and I saw he was at Stuttgart. So in the time I was playing at Stuttgart, he was already working at Stuttgart with the junior teams. But because we never see the junior teams, we have our training sessions in the mornings, the afternoons, we go home, and then later on in the evening they train. he had been there, and I didn't know that until a lot later. And I've actually got his number maybe 3-4 months ago. Sent him a message, nothing came back, and then I got a, hey man, everything all right? And I thought, yeah, is this his number or is it not his number? I thought, I don't know if it's him. And then when you played before the FA Cup final, I did an interview for the BBC on him. It was something small, but it was really small. And then I sent him a message as well, good luck. And no, I sent him after the Champions League semi-final. I sent him good luck, and again, nothing came. And then he sent one back, yeah, one more to go. And then he started writing to me a little bit, telling me about this time in Stuttgart, and did you tell them about the crazy times? And then I think, okay, is his number, So and now I sent him one before the game, and he said thank you. And after the game, I'd sent him, but he hasn't replied. But I can understand he's busy, he's got a lot to do, and I'll make sure that I come up as soon as I can to see him. It would be nice.
Are you a Liverpool fan, like most ex-players?
I am, absolutely. I have to be honest. When I left, I was how can I say? I was upset. I was angry. I was angry that I didn't get to have another chance, and it's normal that you get that you're angry. But you know what? As I got older, a little bit older, and I thought, you know what? It's not the coach's fault. It wasn't. It was my fault. I should have done a lot more. I should have been fitter when I got there. And I was on social media, and there was Liverpool fans talking to me, and we were, some guys would say something horrible, and I would say, it's okay, sure, your opinion. And then they would realize it's me, and then they would completely say, hey, it wasn't meant that way and stuff. Hey, it's no problem. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to start firing back at anybody that has something bad to say about me. I just take it as it is. And they want to say something nasty, they can. I'll always stay normal. And as time went on, I just grown more and more and more to the team. And I was so happy when they won the Champions League. But obviously when they won the league, that was the greatest thing. Now it was just qualifying for the Champions League that's made this season, even though it wasn't that good. But I am a big Liverpool fan. I could say that.
That's really cool. And I think, speaking of someone who was a fan in that era, okay, you didn't enjoy the best of luck, but it almost feels like you're a bit of a cult hero now. Are you conscious of the fact that Liverpool fans do remember your name?
Yeah, they do, because they came out with, I don't know who or what person said it, that I said I was faster than Owen. Even my best friends, they still mock me and say, "Oh yeah, he's definitely faster than Owen." I never said that. I maybe because I've never been a player that said, "You know what, I'm quicker than that person," or "I'm better than that." I was always like, "You know what, I was the fastest at Karlsruhe. I'm interested to see how fast Michael is." And then that came out. I said I'm faster than Owen. The boy was really quick, So. And he was smaller, so it wasn't. But when I go on the internet and type in Sean Dundee, in the images there'll be I know there's somewhere like a key holder where it says faster than Owen. I was, hey, people even came up with something like that. Wow, So.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant stuff. We are out of time, Sean. Listen, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you all the best with the TV punditry and with the coaching.
Thanks very much. And if there's anything I can do again for you in the near future, you just let me know, all right?
You're an absolute gentleman, Sean. Thank you very much. Sean Dundee. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.